What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. It's episode 616 of The O Show. We are presented by TickPick.com. Use that promo code capital OSHOW20 for $20 off your next order. Katie to the Suns now. We're both Phoenix people. We can go to games now. Just get $20 off. OSHOW20, capital OSHOW 20 for $20 off your next order. I want to give a special shout out to Rack Financial as well for helping us out. Head on over to rackfinancial.com to see your results with us over at Rack Financial. We got Matthew Ryan in the studio today, better known by his followers as Matty Ice. I'm so glad that we're able to do this today, man. We've been in contact for way too long for not having to, meet for the first time today.
I'm happy to be here. I've talked to so many people about you, and I've seen your show on, all over the internet the past year. And I've said this, you're by far one of the best interviewers I've seen. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. I honestly don't think it takes too much to be a good, talker interviewer. It's about listening to your guests, right? You know it. I listen to your interviews and you're just insanely passionate about what you do, right? You could just kind of explaining things, and your guests pick up on that too, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, oh, this guy's a good dude. He's not here for the PR. He does this because he loves it. I
think that's what it is. It's about podcasting. You have to like interviewing. You have to like people. You have to like people in this kind of setting, at least.
Yeah.
Trust me, I don't like people in some other settings, but I do like interviewing, and I think you can tell right away that you do too. So that's why. Again, I'm just happy to be here.
I'm sure you've had a ton of interviewees too that were just like, oh, hey, Matt, what's going on, man? Yeah, we'll talk about that and that. And then as soon as the light hits red, and you're good to go.
Boom.
It's like, Matt, what's going on, man? Matty Ice, can't wait to be here.
As soon as the camera turns on, they turn on. So.
Mm-hmm. Those are the ones where it's like, okay, I understand the business. Yep. But it's always great to meet people like you. Like the second I saw you in the garage today, it's like, all right, we're buds.
Yep.
We respect what we do.
Absolutely.
So I'm very happy to have you in today. Hopefully I ask you questions that you've never heard before. Because again, you were telling me right outside, like it's very tough in your industry being a white hip hop podcaster, just in the environment, right? Where I grew up on rock and roll, so I don't know too much about hip hop. I'm as white as a ghost, despite my Donald Trump spray tan. I did a TV thing the other day. They're like, they pulled me over. They're like, O'Hara, come here. Pale doesn't sell. You're gonna have to get some color. So that's the reason for this. But yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic that you've been able to build yourself with your brand, with not only the Matty Ice show. You had the Matty Ice Studios out in Phoenix that you just wrapped up as well. You're out here in Vegas, you're in LA, you're all over the place.
I truly love what I do. I've been interviewing artists now for the past 3 years, but I'm also tapping in and interviewing influencers and people all across the board now. I love interviewing, but mainly it's been artists, hip hop artists, but I will interview really any musician. I've had Afro beats artists on the show. I've had singers, rappers, it all depends, producers. But I love the music industry, I think, so much. I always wanted to be in music management. I remember as a kid, I'd buy books from Barnes and Nobles on how to manage artists. And then I through concerts and I hated being a promoter. I never want to be a promoter again.
Mm-hmm.
But I always was kind of involved in the music, or wanted to be involved in the music industry. And when I started the podcast, it just all made sense. And ever since then, it's never going to stop.
Where'd you grow up?
Illinois.
Okay.
Suburbs. So, I'm from Illinois. I definitely spent a lot of time in the city of Chicago too.
Mm-hmm.
So, 28 years in Illinois, almost 8 years in Arizona.
So 2016, 2015?
I moved here about 8 years ago. So yeah. 2015.
So I moved here in 2017 from New Jersey. So okay. I love Phoenix. In my opinion, we were talking about out here, possibly, trying to find studio space out here. Everybody's coming and going from here, so it would make sense to have a ton of different.
Super Bowl's going to be here next year too.
Super Bowl's here next year. Media Row is going to be nuts. I think it'll be way more packed than it was for Phoenix.
Of course.
Especially you're a Chiefs guy. You were a big Patrick Mahomes supporter this time around, right?
Huge Patrick Mahomes supporter. Huge Chiefs supporter. And also was when they won the Super Bowl 3 years ago too. Mm-hmm. So I bet on football. It's something that I've been doing for a very long time.
Yeah.
Been pretty good with it. But it's gambling, so you can lose too. But this year I was very fortunate, and just Patrick Mahomes is just an incredible player. We talk about Patrick Mahomes, somebody that's been in the league now for 6 years, but he didn't start his first year. He backed up Alex Smith.
Yep.
So I consider Patrick Mahomes a 5-year player because he started 5 years. Out of those 5 years, he won 3 AFC championships, and 2 Super Bowls and been to 3 Super Bowls. So to sit there and look at that and then the MVPs that he's won, MVP of the Super Bowl, and just the way he comes in the game and plays the game, he's a special player. And I was just thinking about this too. Tom Brady's 46 years old.
Yeah.
Mahomes is 27. He already has 2 rings.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 19 years to try to play, catch up here.
Mm-hmm.
If he chooses to stay in the lead that long. I think Mahomes he's by far my favorite player.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he really brings out the baseball side in him too. Just the way he throws and he's able to be flexible.
Can we get Kyler to do that too? Come on.
Right? Kyler does not do that, right? I respect Kyler for choosing the money, because in minor league baseball, you're not making jack shit starting out. So like he chose the money, and obviously he's got his issues with the Cardinals back and forth. And they've got their issues with him. But I'm trying to think who else. Like Russell Wilson had the baseball background, and you can kind of see it in the way he moves his body around in the pocket too. But Patrick Mahomes, the average football fan will tell you there's no way he gets to 7, but he's only 27, like you said. Like, it's very possible that...
And you got to remember, what if he decides his last couple years where he wants to go to like a super team or like some, you never know. Yeah. So like he can also run that route, which we know, whatever. I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll retire a Chief, but you never know.
I mean, who's really going to go up against him in the AFC? Like Joe Burrow, obviously. Is
Burrow will get a
talented.
ring eventually. Burrow's going to get a ring. He scares me. He scared the hell out of me in this AFC Championship. Burrow will get a ring at some point. He'll be a Super Bowl winner.
He's almost like how... Aaron Rodgers only has 1 ring, but he's considered one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, probably the best in the league, where Pat Mahomes is going to be like Tom Brady, where it's like he is
Well, think about it. Pat Mahomes is already like past Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy to say that?
Which is nuts.
He's past him. Mm-hmm. He's been in more Super Bowl appearances than him, won more Super Bowls than him. Has he won more MVPs than him already? I don't know.
No. Aaron Rodgers, I think, has 3 or 4.
Okay.
I'm not positive there, though, but he's on his way for sure. Are you, is football your main sport?
I love football. Football is my number 1 sport, I would say, and then basketball. But the problem I have with basketball is like when there's 82 games, a lot of times these players don't come out and play like they're real to their full potential.
Yeah.
And, they're traveling overnight, and then, there's a lot of variables in basketball. Mm-hmm. And I look at it more in a betting angle than more of like watching the game to like, oh, the game's on tonight. So for me, I'm looking at it a little bit different of an angle. Mm-hmm. But football is my number 1 for sure.
And I feel like, well, with KD now in Phoenix, I feel like it's going to spice up a little bit. We'll want to go to more games. For sure. Especially if they have a great playoff run.
They need to win the title, man. Yeah. This has to be a title run now. And the new owner is going to be aggressive, and we got to give him his props for bringing KD over here.
Yeah.
I want to see, this is their window now. I mean, Chris Paul, man, the guy needs a ring.
Yep.
And I thought they were going to win the past couple of years. So this is their window right now.
Mm-hmm. I thought they were going to win when they played the Bucks, and they just didn't show up.
Up 2-0, too. They were up 2-0 in the finals. Everything was looking great, and then lost 4 in a row. Awful.
Yeah. No, I'm not a huge NBA guy, but I'm like, it's going to be popping in Phoenix now.
Oh, for sure. Phoenix is like you said, Phoenix is a great city. A lot of people are moving there. We got a good sports town right now. Believe it or not, Cardinal Stadium is like a beautiful stadium. It's one of the best stadiums in football. Yeah. I love Cardinal Stadium. We got a new owner now with the Suns. We got Kevin Durant here. It's a great city. So, and not only that, Arizona has the best weather. There's no tolls. We got Sedona. I think Arizona is one of the best states to live in.
I think the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, Los Angeles obviously will always be a mecca for media, for people who do what we do, right? People are always coming in and out. Now Las Vegas, a lot of people are moving not only from LA to Phoenix, but now from LA to Vegas.
For sure.
I mentioned Mark Wahlberg is out using our studio today.
Crazy.
Because he's out in Henderson now, Are you going to move here? Is that kind of like an idea in your head? Because a lot of people tell me, they're like, you should move there eventually. And like, I'm out here way too much to be just traveling back and forth.
I have thought about moving here since I've been like 18, to believe it or not. I'm 35 now. So I've always wanted to move here. And like, I guess like right now is the perfect time. I'm single. I'm doing the podcasting, game. I would say like this is the best time. I don't know. Like right now, my lease is up where I'm at in the next 2 months. And I'm in this weird phase of like, what am I doing next? I just closed Matty Ice Studios because I needed to build something bigger for what I want to do.
Yeah.
And the rent was just getting ridiculous they were raising the rent on me, and it just wasn't feasible for what I was looking to do. So I just closed that studio, and I'm kind of like, okay, am I doing Arizona? Am I doing Vegas? I'm in Vegas like 10 days of the month, every month as it is. Hotels are getting expensive. What am I doing? So like, I don't know yet. I'm
Mhm.
still trying to figure this out. So right now, the Matty Ice show obviously will always stay alive. I'm traveling a lot to do interviews. I'm getting creative with my interviews and like, coming here to do interviews. I just had an artist, at Hardin Dispensary. They just built a studio, so I've been kind of working out of there. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna have a home base spot eventually, and I think it's important to have your own home base branded spot, especially for marketing, especially for what we're doing. It's important, especially for what I'm doing. Artists come and hit me up, and they want to freestyle on my show. They
Mhm.
want to have that same vibe that they see that every other artist has. Well, like right now, I can't bring them to Matty Ice Studios, so like. But I like that. Like, yo, Matty, we're in town. Can I come to your studio? Yeah, I'm available. So now, like, I gotta kind of,
Right.
I don't have that flexibility.
Right. And it's almost part of the experience too. Like when people go on Rogan, he's got his entire
Exactly.
headquarters. When people go to McAfee, he's got his entire Thunderdome. Like people have
They
their
like that,
spots.
and they
And
like
it's
that.
like, oh, I've seen this picture before. And then there's stories, and then you get to know the person. And then
Exactly.
as soon as you hit record, it's like you guys are already buddies.
Exactly.
It's not like, all right, like we're gonna hit record, we're gonna talk about this. Like, are you okay with talking about this? It's like you guys aren't even friends. It doesn't feel natural, right?
I had I had like a super dope mural I had made, and like that was a part of our marketing thing and branding, and like everybody would come there and take a picture in front of the mural, like stuff like that. So no, you're absolutely right. Having your own set is it's critical to what we're doing
Mm-hmm.
and important.
And we were talking about like the residual income aspect of having a studio space that people could rent out in today's world with everybody. It doesn't matter if you're in real estate. I see solar sales. I see insurance people. Not to mention like
Dentists, doctors,
doctors.
anybody wants to make a media commercial or voiceovers or whatever the case might be. I think we are in the this is the best time for it. There's no better time than right now.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people when you think celebrity, you think like athlete, musician, actor, actress. At least growing up, right?
For sure.
Where now there's like the Grant Cardones of the world, the Brad Lees of the world, like business people becoming
Influencers.
like influencers.
Adam
yeah.
Weitzman, Adam Weitzman.
Exactly.
Guys like that.
Mm-hmm. Like people are considered celebrities that you didn't think like, okay, social media really changed the game for some of these people. There's a lot of money to be thrown around for these influencers that have X amount of followers, X amount of, DMs. Like people, as long as you have engagement, you're always going to be making money.
It's a fact. That's a fact because people are going to want to market with you as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's where like sponsorships come in, partnerships. Like, look at Hardin, Spencer, who hooked us up today, right? Unbelievable studio, by the way. Who anybody that wants to check that place out?
It really is a super dope studio.
Like, you know how many people are partnered with them?
Hardin has done an incredible job with marketing. I mean, they're by far way above all the dispensaries I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Their marketing is insane. I mean, I heard about Hardin years ago before I was even kind of in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So like they've been marketing for a very long time the way that they are. And within their community that they should be marketing into.
There's a lot of dispensaries out here too. Planet 13's right down the street.
I don't fuck with Planet 13. Planet 13, they're I don't like their product. I smoke a lot of weed. I take a lot of edibles and stuff like that. I'm a big advocate for marijuana. I don't, long time. But
Yeah.
Hardin has been the only downside that I have with Hardin is it's not on the strip. I wish it was on the strip. Or like within 5 minutes, but it kind of is. It's within 10 minutes. So Hardin has the best product though, and they're very reasonably priced. Adam, the owner's like a class act to the T, and everybody that works there is just super kind and just a great place.
What's a business that you'd want to work with specifically for your show and your brand? Because it has to like really mesh with what your audience is and what your mission is. Like, do you have like any specific partnerships that you're looking to build?
So I think right now the main one that I'm working with is Bel Air and Rick Ross's companies. We just brought out Deacon Whiskey, which is a new company. I'm the sovereign brand of it all. We have McQueen, we have Bel Air, we have Bamboo. So I'm really just sticking with Ross.
Yeah.
And what Rick Ross is doing and what he wants me to work, what product that he wants me to work with, what company that he has that he wants me to push. Is it the Bamboo? Is it the Bel Air? Is it the McQueen? We just, like I said, brought out the Deacon Whiskey. So really I'm loyal to Ross's brands and Rick Ross. I'm really not trying to get any other sponsorships.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
about building relationships. That's the new currency.
Yeah. And I've been working with Ross now for, Bel Air for the past 3 years. So really it's just been, I'm blessed to have that company kind of support me and have Ross support me.
And what else do you do, besides obviously having certain like bottles and stuff in studio on camera? Because obviously there's the marketing aspect, the promotion aspect, there's probably parties involved, there's probably, certain people to promote it. Like what's kind of the whole deal there?
So as far as Bel Air is concerned, really it comes down to the strength off my relationship with Maybach Music
Hmm.
and with Rick Ross. So I'm now managed by Jeter K,
Okay.
who has been in the industry now for the past 20 years. He's actually Ross's road manager, and he's a Maybach Music executive, and he has his own company called Solid Ground, which he's signing artists and has a management company. So Jeter's somebody that's been in the game for a long time, and now that he's taken over my show, he's handling all the management, and everything kind of is kind of going through his hands.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like a whole family,
Yeah.
it's Maybach, it's a whole family. Like, you got everybody treats everybody really, really nice. There's no like, Ross has been the most genuine person to me in the industry, which is weird to say because it's a very hard thing to find in this industry.
Yeah.
And he's a big A-lister. And like, I just woke up yesterday morning and like he shared a picture of me in his story and like, I didn't talk to him. Like, he just did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was fucking cool. Like,
Hmm.
I still sit back and like, that's Rick Ross. Like, that's cool as hell. Like, for me, it's still cool as hell. Even though I've met him 50 times and like, it's cool as hell. Like, I don't ever take it for granted. I never take the fact that like Ross supports what I do for granted because he's such a mogul and such a A-lister and has done so many big, big, big things that I will never sit back and say like, oh, well, I can just chill now. Or like, oh, no, I will always respect Rick Ross on a different level.
Hmm. And those are the people that really resonate with you because it's like there's probably people that you've interviewed that are like, oh, awesome, man. I love what you're doing and it's a great conversation. And then you might not ever hear from them again. Where there's other people, like I talked about before, that are just there for the interview. It's like, okay, they were whatever. Right. And then there's people like Rick Ross. I have a few people in MLB that all of a sudden they're just like reposting my stuff, tagging me in it. I'm just like, I haven't talked to you in
So
a couple
cool.
of weeks. I'm like, you genuinely care and want to support what we're doing
So
here.
cool. That's the main thing with Ross. So like, prime example, I used it as yesterday, like shared the picture. But Ross will support people that are working hard.
Hmm.
So like, that's Ross's way of saying, I see you, bro. Keep working. Like, I see what you're doing. Keep going, bro. That's like motivation to me. You know what I'm saying? So like, Ross won't leave you hanging. And that's what I love. Like, there's a lot of people in this industry. Like, if you're really working hard and people, they might see it, but they might not even respond to you, or they might not even like a picture. They might not
Mhm.
show you. They might not show you respect like that. Ross will if you're
Mhm.
serious,
Hmm.
period. And that can be in anything. If you're serious and you're really going to put that work in and you prove it to him, he won't leave you hanging. And that's what I love about Rick Ross.
And he's very intentional. Like the reason he's so successful, not only is he obviously talented, but he's very intentional with his time, who he spends his time with, what he's doing. He has a vision 5, 10 years out of what he's doing, right? So he's not going to waste his time on people that are going to fizzle out. It's very easy to tell who's going to fizzle out and who's not.
Dude, think about it. So like, I've been pushing Bel Air now for 3 years. Do you know how many people have bought Bel Air bottles because I've been pushing it? I know it for a fact. Like, insane amount of people have bought Bel Air bottles because of it. So like, I know what we're doing works. He knows it's working. He feels it. So again, it's not just like Bel Air though. It's more of just like, the Maybach family, and just to be able to be in that community
Mm-hmm.
is dope. Like, I was just at the W. We had this suits and sneakers event,
Yeah.
and right away, like, got escorted right to the stage, was on stage while Ross was performing. And like, like I said, I don't take these things for granted because 10 years ago, Ross was like he still is one of my favorite artists. And like, somebody like I would like, damn, Ross and Drake have a song together. That's
Mhm.
crazy. Like, Drake's one of my
Mhm.
favorite artists. And just to be able to like have a genuine conversation with somebody like that and put all that aside and just talk about life is just cool.
Who's someone, because you probably have a ton of dream interviews, right? From a show host perspective, I have mine. That's why you get into it, because you want to interview your heroes at the end of the day. Who were some of those guys besides Rick that kind of really set your soul on fire to want to get into this?
It's crazy that I haven't even interviewed Ross yet. He's asked me numerous times to do it. I'm waiting for the right opportunity to interview Ross because, one, it's not going to be shock value to anybody.
Yeah.
Because people are going to, we expect that. So like, it's not going to be a shocker to people. I have to do it. But I want it to be at the right time. So Ross is obviously a dream interview, but not something that I have. I could do it today, but I want it to be a really right time. I want it to be the right time. So I'm waiting on that. I'd say like today, a dream interview for me would be like Patrick Mahomes or Patrick Mahomes' dad, even, which is like, I don't know why, but like today, that's my dream interview. The Mahomes family, any Mahomes. I know you just got to talk to Jackson.
Yeah.
Jackson would be a dream. Any Mahomes right now, I want to interview. So like that's where I'm at. It could be any Mahomes. Randy Mahomes, the mom, she just viewed all my stories yesterday, which was crazy. Jackson, Pat Senior, whatever the case might be, I want a Mahomes.
Isn't it crazy how different everyone in that family is?
It's wild. But at the same point, the mom seems extremely religious.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick is extremely religious, or very glorifies God very much so. The dad, Pat Senior, seems the same way. I mean, his video clips he seems like a great father. Jackson is Jackson. Like, listen, Jackson's just a very vibrant person, and he gets a lot of hate because he's all over social media and he puts himself out there, and I think he opens the door for hate. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, he's not a bad person.
No.
He doesn't do anything wrong. He's a kid having fun. His brother just won a Super Bowl. He's having fun. He's doing a little viral dance on gives a fuck.
He's doing him at the end of the day. As long as he's happy, who the hell?
He's not hurting anybody or offending anybody. And the bottom line is I think anybody would type, you're always going to have haters, dude. People are always going to like want to make fun of you or bring you down, especially if you're in the spotlight. That's never going to change. I have mad haters to be.
If you don't have haters, you're not succeeding.
For sure. Or people that are just maybe envious or whatever that angle is. But I think with him, he has that. That's out. The jury's out there with people hate on him, but I don't think he even gives a fuck himself. No. I actually saw him in the win maybe like 6 months ago, just in the lobby. I didn't say anything to him, but I've seen him out here a couple times actually. Mm-hmm. It's never just in the win actually each time.
Oh, really?
So you get to see a lot of people when you're.
We keep saying like when we're in Vegas, people are coming in and out all the time. Every weekend I'm out here, I'm like, all right, who's in town? You see it on big billboards outside. Right. I'm like, oh, Nickelback's here this week. I'll reach out to their publicist. Right.
Have you had a hard time like getting to the A-listers?
Some of them are really cool. Like when I interviewed Magic Johnson, it was straight up. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. Absolutely. I'm like, oh, I didn't even have to talk to anybody. Like I was friends with a publicist who kind of introduced me, but he was like, absolutely, man.
Did you do the interview in person or was that off of like Zoom?
It was Zoom. Yeah. Well, Zoom's a lot easier too. For sure. Where it's like, oh yeah, I'll hop on my phone real quick. But yeah, it depends who their publicist and their manager and who their team is. Because at the end of the day, they are the what do they call them?
The gatekeepers.
The gatekeepers, right? Because for whatever reason, they like to flex their muscles and say, oh, he doesn't have time for you. I've had people agree to do interviews, and then it's like, yeah, just reach out to my publicist. And then the publicist says no.
Yeah, see, whatever. We know what I've learned in this industry? Even like, if I tell you to talk to my manager, there's a reason behind it. We're people. Mm-hmm. If they push you onto a publicist or a manager, it's not happening. Or there's going to be a long, long rigmarole to it.
So do you think it's like the talent being just too nice to say no and just be
I think we need to take more advantage of, and like for me now, I'm going to take advantage. Like I just did this prime example. Ed Hardin, Boosie was there. I've interviewed Boosie in the past, right? Mm-hmm. Boosie's a pretty serious artist, and like Boosie's about his money too. He wants to get paid for anything, even interviews, right? I don't pay for interviews, but he wants to get paid. I get it. We were at Hardin. I was running interviews out of there. I knew Boosie was coming in there because I know his A&R and his people. And I was like, you know what? I already have my videographer here. Mm-hmm. I'm here. I've already interviewed him. I'm putting 2 and 2 together in my head. Rocket Man, the song's coming out. He's been talking about it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to take advantage of my moment now. Fuck his moment. This is, I don't mean that in his way, but this is now my moment. I'm here with him and I want to get him on my camera, right? Mm-hmm. So very respectful. I waited for him to do the whole, the walkthrough and everything to the last second. I went up to him like, yo, Boo, can I get 5 minutes with you? Just 5-minute promo interview. He's like, I charge top dollar for this, Matty. And like last time I didn't pay for anything because I always had like a play, like Ethica I brought him to, or like there was always like a reason what I'm doing, right? To kind of like make it to where we're both getting something out of this completely. Because I understand like what is he really getting out of it doing an interview with me? I'm not this huge platform yet, right? So I'm like, Boosie, I'm here, you're here, I got my guy right here. Can I have 5 minutes, bro? Like just like that. And he's like, Matty. I'm like, Boosie, 5 minutes, come on. He's like, all right, make it 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But like, Susan saying, like, we also gotta be hungry too and take advantage of our opportunities. And don't let somebody say no and be like, no, ask him again. You know what I'm saying? Like, ask him again professionally. So I think that's what I'm now. I'm not shying away from the moment anymore.
No.
And before I used to, like, I've had plenty of opportunities where I was like, fuck, I didn't talk to that person. I didn't talk to that person. Like, why? Because I was scared maybe a little bit too. Now I'm not. Like, now I'm just like, I'm going to go after everything I can get.
Now, when you say 5 minutes, you have to mean 5 minutes,
yeah,
right?
I think I could have gone longer with him actually, and like I also didn't give him the best.
You pick up the vibe when you're talking to him. You're like, I could go a little bit longer.
Right.
You won't care.
Right. I think I could have too, but I was so focused on like that 5 minutes, and like also like it was just to get him to do that was not easy.
Yeah.
Like so
right.
like that was not easy. So I was like already like kind of timid from the interview. It wasn't like my favorite thing, but it was the fact that I got to sit down with him and talk to and ask him questions. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And like as an interviewer, we want to sit down with as many A-listers as possible because it's going to build our confidence up as well. Like we've sat down with him now. Oh, we know we can talk to him. So now let's move on to that. Like so for me, like I just want to talk to as many people that are important as possible.
Yeah.
And he's one of them. And I got a media pass to the Boosie Bash where Kodak Black's going to be there and Glorilla. So I'll be doing those coming up. So just, stuff like that.
Yeah. And the fact that you were able to go out of your way and tell yourself, let alone him, like, oh, I can do this and get the yes.
And I've sat down with him before and he's somebody that's very critical on, he's a very tough person.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Like on just in a lot of different areas. So like for me to sit down with him, he's tough. He's tough on a lot of different situations, so we'll leave it there. But it's cool that he rocks with me, and I've always been genuine with him. And Boosie's a great guy.
You keep it real with people. People respect you at the end of the day,
for sure.
It's the people that kiss your ass. You tell like, oh, what do you want from me,
dude? And that's what it is. And that's where I think it's gotten to. My relationship with Maybach and Ross has been. I've never asked Rick Ross for one favor or nothing. I've never asked him for a hat, like nothing, like zero. And I think like in the beginning, I was buying my Bel Air bottles straight up. I was going to the store and buying them. I'm open about it. I was buying my shit. Like, after a while, like, okay, I forced the situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we got to work together. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that if you're committed to what you're doing and you're about it, you're going to be successful. It's just going to take time, dude. Like, I think that's where, you're, look where you've grown. Like, even like I've seen you now, I see the Win logo next to you. Like, that's fucking huge. You know what I mean? Like, that's huge. Like, I've seen your show grow like a ton. It's just from putting in the work, bro. Like, we're in podcasting. It's a consistency game. We got to be dropping all the time. We got to be interviewing all the time. And eventually something's going to crack.
It's literally, you don't quit. The first episode I ever did was in my parents' basement in New Jersey. And I told myself, I'm going to do this to the day I die. This is what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a talk show host. I want to interview all walks of life. I want to interview my heroes. We were talking a little bit before about how you put out like 160, 200 plus episodes, 2021. You took, a step back to focus more on personal stuff this year, right? I'm honest, like, I don't know what that is, and we can talk about it if you want. For me, like there are moments of like burnout in this where it's like, I love doing this, but there are times where I'm like, I want to take a week off, like I need to, right? Where did you get to where you said like, you still put out a good amount of content. It just wasn't maybe in your head, like as much as you did before. So like your brain almost trains you to think like, oh, I need to be doing more. But at the same time, it's quality over quantity and you got to take care of yourself first. So I'm curious what happened there.
Great question. So in 2021, I started the show in 20, but 20 was a build-up year. And I was also building my brand, redid my logo, which is weird. Right after I redid my logo, I felt like everything changed. Like that day.
Really?
Straight up. When I redid my logo, ever since I met with my graphic designer that I work with, that day, everything changed. His name is Nick. He's Little Dirk's designer. That day, 2 Raw Design. Shout out 2 Raw. Nick, I got to give you your flowers. You're the GOAT. Incredible graphic designer. So ever since I feel like that day when I linked with him and he redid my logo, everything changed. Marketing's everything.
Yeah.
In 21, I dropped 200 interviews. I won Podcast of the Year here with Arizona Trending. Shout out Matt Mills and Don Miliano and those guys over there. I know I earned it that year because I put in a lot of hard work and I was interviewing like 4 to 5 times a week. I was traveling all over the place. I was coming to Vegas like every other month to run 10 interviews. I was going to California to run interviews. I had Matty Ice Studios that just opened up brand new. I was running crazy interviews and freestyles out of there. And also it was at a time when I'm brand new to the Maybach family in Ross and Bel Air. So like it was a very hungry time for me too, and a time I'll never take, for granted. Or it was just a time that I knew I had to really put in the hard work, because I knew, one, the eyes that were watching me and who the relationships I had built, and I didn't want to ruin those. And I wanted to make sure that I was only elevating those relationships and making them better. Yeah. So in 21, we did 200 interviews. 22, I dealt with a lot of personal stuff, depression, anxiety, getting over a relationship, my own personal battles with just different things that I have in my life. And I think that because of that, and because that I keep this A100, I get paid for 85% of my interviews. There's a lot of times I will ask, certain people to come on the show, but a majority of my interviews I'm getting paid for. So the problem with Matty Ice show is, if Jack and you're an artist and you pay me and I'm having a really shitty day, I can't just be like, yo, bro, you just gave me whatever, $800, and yo, bro, what are you here for, bro? What's your, they're going to be like, well, bro, give me my fucking money back. Run me back. What are you doing? So for me, like, the hardest thing for me is making sure that I'm A100 and have the energy and the enthusiasm and excitement that you deserve when you're sitting down with me. And that, I think, is the hardest thing, where I have to be like, okay, I got paid for this. Now I got to come in there and be the exact professional, because a lot of times these guys are flying in town. You know what I'm saying? They're flying in from Florida and they just did a 5-hour flight, but I had the worst day ever. You know what I'm saying? And like, they don't know that, but they're super excited. They just flew in. And Matty, what's the restaurant I can go to? This and that. But here I am, like, bro, I'm having the worst fucking day of my life. But they won't know that. And I think that's what comes in being a professional and doing our job. And every musician has that. Every actor, like when you're an actor and you have to read your script, if you just had a fight with your wife, you can't go on your script and be like, oh, I just had a fight. No, you got to read that shit like you're fucking the best ever. So I think that is the biggest fight I've had. And I'm getting back to a point now where I love what I do. We're almost at like 300 and something interviews on YouTube. And I just love what I do. And now that I've did this deal with Solid Ground and Jeter, it's been helping me a lot. So I don't know where this is going to go.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've woken up in the morning and be like, I don't want to go to the studio today. Like, I have no interest. But it's like, okay, like, and there's been instances where I did reschedule, and with the same people, where it's like, I got to go today. And then it turns out to be an awesome conversation and really like changes the dynamic of my day around. I'm like, okay, that's why I do this. You never really know what conversation is really going to inspire you. Certain people going through similar things as you at the same time, right? Like, we're all trying to make it in this world. You don't really know what anybody's going through. So like, to go through personal depression, you mentioned like relationship stuff, which is like, I'd rather be hit by a bus than go through that stuff, right? That stuff's like, heartache really sucks.
I had
go through it.
I had an ex-girlfriend who is actually a great person, really good person, and I got nothing bad to say about her. I love the girl, right? And we didn't talk for about a year. A text here and there, right? She wasn't posting on social media at all for about a year. We broke up a couple of years ago, and she wasn't posting at all. So like, I had no clue, and I checked her shit out, what I'm saying? I checked her page out here and there, whatever.
Absolutely.
And out of nowhere, she posted a baby picture. And, I knew she had a boyfriend, somebody she was serious with, who I think is actually probably a good person too. And she had a kid. And that set me back, I'm not going to lie. Like, this was somebody that I loved and who I still to this day think she's a great person. And you gotta grow up, I think, at times. And I think that kind of put me in a situation where, like, my next relationship, truly somebody that I'm really serious with, I will remember that, and I won't want to deal with that pain again. You know what I'm saying? So I think for anybody, take your relationships seriously, because especially if you have the right person. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's things in every relationship that each person can work on. But I think in my specific situation, I had all the opportunities to fix my problems, and I chose not to. So that's why I'm sitting here humbly saying, yo, she's living a great life. She has the baby now, the family life, and, the whole 9 yards. And we'll get there. I'm going to have the same, I'm hoping to settle down one day and have kids. I want to have kids really bad. So everybody has their timing. 22 was not my time. But again, if you look at my page, you wouldn't see that. Like, I was still interviewing like crazy. I'm telling you, 22 was the worst year of my fucking life by far. That's why this Super Bowl meant so much to me in so many ways. Because financially it was a disaster for me. and I shouldn't base my life on a Super Bowl, but I had a lot invested in the Super Bowl and like just a lot that went into it besides just the Super Bowl itself. And today's just a new day. Like I feel like today's a new day compared to where I was even 2 weeks ago. So just it's a new day, and 22 was just a year I want to check off. And hopefully this year will be. It's already started off to be a lot better. I threw I had a little cool party I had put together for Richie Evans, which was it turned out to be like that day way bigger than what I expected it to be. It was only supposed to be like 15, 20 people, wound up being 60. So it was just a nightmare. But it was a really good event. Next time I got to have you there. We were doing this strictly for like 15 to 20 people because the owner of the mansion was like, bro, we can't have these many people here. So I was like, okay, this is Richie's list. And then you know how that shit goes. And then it just wound up being a disaster. But I just love what I do. And I just want to continue to meet artists and meet different people and have them on the show. And I think the big attraction to the Matty Ice show, though, is artists coming to freestyle and perform on the show. I think that is my biggest attraction, and it's something that artists want to do. So, and especially when you have eyes like, you know, people that are following me, like you, obviously Ross, but you have a lot of record labels that are following me, a lot of A&Rs that are following me, a lot of artists that are following me. So like, it's pretty cool to hop on a show like this, and then you can get seen by all these people that, you know, I'm affiliated with or that I know. So I like, you're an artist, I bring you into my show. Well, now you just met everybody that I know, and they might fuck with you, or like they might want to feature from you, or they might want to link up with you or talk, whatever the case might be. I think platforms like this, every platform, don't go to every one of them because they all have their own niche. They all have their own followers. Like they all, even if he has 20 followers and 10 of them like your song, well, they're streaming it now. So every platform should be utilized by artists. I think.
Oh, 100%. Now, I mean, look at it from like a podcast perspective too, you know, just think of the shows we have in our area. We mentioned Peter. There's so many different platforms that kind of have the same guests on because we're all in this like close knit community and we're all kind of helping each other out. But everybody else has their own niche. You're talking about different things, you know, like we're going to talk about different things on this show that didn't talk about on Peter's show, or shit you're not going to talk about with your guests on your show.
Did you start your show in 21?
18.
But really push it in Arizona? Like, because when were you really pushing in Arizona?
I'd probably say, beginning of 21, because it was 2020 when I started getting like A-list guests, right? Because nobody had an excuse not to talk to me. So I took advantage of COVID in that way. I'd say 21 is when we had that studio out in Scottsdale. And that's where I started meeting a ton of people and doing face-to-face interviews as opposed to Zoom. And that's when it really got cooking for sure. Yeah. And
you linked up with Jack London and Ducey and those guys too?
I did. Jack Ducey's awesome, and we try to go hiking on Saturdays. And then Jack London, I need to get lunch with you, dude. I told you I was going to get lunch with you soon. I haven't seen him in almost
he's off Instagram right now too.
10 months.
Yeah, he's off crazy. Instagram. I haven't seen his Instagram. I don't know what happened.
Oh, yeah, he's like fuck Jack London now. That's like his new Instagram. I guess he got banned.
He has fuck Jack London back?
Yeah, so he got shadow banned for like his actual account.
I thought it's like his account was closed completely.
Well, yeah, his main one, I think fuck Jack London was the one that he made.
Okay.
But his original one, I don't know what he posted. It was something sexual, and they completely banned him.
Wow. Yeah, Instagram's crazy like that. You know, I keep it very kosher because of, you know, that situation. Like with what we do, we can't lose our IGs and stuff like that. So I keep it pretty kosher. I stay out of the politics, even though I'm very heavily into politics, extremely, as much as football. But I don't talk about it on my show. So
it's good to be knowledgeable about it. Just like don't share your opinions frequently.
Yeah, and I think that's the shitty part is like I shouldn't be scared to share my opinions. And I think that's actually the shitty part about this country right now is people are actually scared to share their opinions. And I think that's actually hurting this country a lot.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first person to say it that I think that these woke liberal agendas are fucking ruining this country. And I'm not going to get into like, you know, the whole in depth of each situation, but I think that the woke liberal agendas are completely ruining this country in so many ways. And it's kind of sad to see, to be real with you. And I'm not sitting here saying like Donald Trump is the savior of this country or whatever the case might be. No, I actually voted for Obama twice. I'm from Illinois, so like he was a big part of Illinois. You know, when he gave that speech at Millennium Park and there was 2 million people there, it was fucking insane.
Yeah,
like so, like I'll never forget those days. But like, it's just I think COVID really exposed a lot of weird stuff, man. And like ever since COVID, the world has just gotten too weird for me. And I just hope that this country can get back to, it just feels, this country just doesn't feel right. I don't know what, I can't explain it to you. Actually, I think it comes down to one big thing, the media. The media has really ruined this country. Not people like me and you, but like big networks.
Like the CNN,
yeah,
Fox,
because the problem is, bro, is like, CNN we'll use for an example. The problem is they sit in a room like this and they think about what agenda can we push today to the people. And then they push their agenda. And it's like, but that's just your agenda. And I get each media and everybody has the right to make their own decision, right? But when you have kids like that are 6 or 7 years old that are watching TV and that's all they see every day, they're programmed. And I think that's a problem. And then when you have like, I have no problem with people, being gay or lesbian or transgender. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think every person should have the right to do it with what they want to do with their own body. What I do have a problem with is running commercials of like trying to change your kid's sex at a young age and stuff like that. Again, you have every right to do what you want to do with your own body. I personally feel that way. But I do feel like if you can't get a tattoo till you're 18, you shouldn't be able to change like your genetic way of life until you're then. I do think there should be an age like where you say, okay, I'm 18, that I'm in control of my own life completely now, and this is what I want to do. There has to be some kind of like rules here. And I think pushing it to the people and like saying, hey, like this is the new way. Right. I think that is where it gets tricky for me. And that's where the gray area for me comes in, is like, wait, you have every right to do what you want to do. But 90% of the world is not like that. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not trying to bring you down either. That's not the case. But 90% of the world doesn't feel like that.
Right.
So why are we pushing that narrative to 90% of the world? Again, we're okay with you being like that. I'll be friends with you. I will never judge you. I'll never make you feel uncomfortable. That's not a good person. You still have a heart. You're a person. You're breathing. Care about you. But at the end of the day, pushing the narratives and pushing the agendas are the biggest problem.
That's why, and you get heat for mentioning his name no matter what, but that's why Donald Trump was good at his job, because I feel like it's politicians, that push that agenda.
He freed Kodak Black and Lil Wayne, like two of the biggest rappers. Like they wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him.
That's why people want to push more of like, not like celebrity politicians, but like people who genuinely want to help the country. Because there are a lot of politicians like a Joe Biden who's been in it his entire life, that they're just grooming and they have shit on, and that's the reason why he's in the position he's in, and that's why it's run the way it is.
Joe Biden is hands down the worst thing that's ever happened in this country. And like, yo, forget me being a Democrat, Republican, whatever you want to call me. Him, awful president, the worst president ever, and we'll go ever. 13 dead Marines. Let's just go there. 13 dead Marines. You pack up Afghanistan. You leave all your artillery there. You leave all your helicopters there, all your guns, and you leave the American civilians there.
Yeah.
And then you pack up and say, all right, troops, we're out. And then you realize you left all your shit there and got to go make a rerun. And when you make your rerun, you lose 13 dead souls, American Marines, and 100 of them got injured. Where's that heat?
Yeah.
One thing that Trump doesn't get enough credit for is he was the first walking U.S. president to ever walk into North Korea and shake hands with the North Korean regime. Like, cool. Like, maybe I think that's cool. Like, I think that's good to have dialogue. I'd rather have dialogue than not dialogue. Look what we're now. We're all like scared of China. We got Chinese balloons flying all over the place. Yeah. We got Iran threatening us. We got, it's back to like, we should be in the position of power. And I felt like at least with Trump, like he made it known. Like, what did Kim Jong-un do? The first thing, threatening us with rockets and shooting us. What do you call him? Rocket Man. Yep. Remember, he was called Rocket Man right after that. Yep. And he told Rocket Man, listen, your rockets probably won't reach here. Mine will reach you though. Be careful. Tread carefully. And like, that's what I like. I want somebody that stands up for America and says, no, we're the strongest. And it doesn't have to be Trump. Whoever that is next. I like Carrie Lake a lot, actually, believe it or not. I'm trying to interview her. But Trump was somebody that at least led with force, meaning like, and he did lead America first, believe it or not. And I don't want to get into like there was a lot of different things going on, Black Lives Matter movement and obviously George Floyd and all those George Floyd was a terrible thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. We all saw that for 9 minutes. There's no excuse for any of that. That was absolutely awful. But I do think like a lot of the agendas and narratives, we don't hear about them anymore. I'm sure we will again when the elections are coming back up. But yeah, politics has been a very the past few years has been very strange. Let's just put it that way. I never used to think like, I think big tech and media has played a major role.
Oh my God. Well, if there was no Instagram, TikTok, if there was no social media, I don't know if it would be as hectic, to be honest with you.
Look at Jack Dorsey banned Trump from Twitter, right? During the elections too.
Yeah.
Did that, banned him from Twitter. Can't stand that guy, but banned him from Twitter. And he had the same people who was it? The president of Iran or whatever had his Twitter. Like all these guys, they're gassing kids and shit. They have their Twitters, but we don't. It's like for me, like that was a big issue for me. Like taking away somebody's voice. Like it's free speech. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah. And
I think Elon Musk picked that up. And again, I'm not sitting here saying I'm this Trumper.
Yeah.
If I do vote next, I'm going to definitely lean towards the right. I saw Nikki Haley's running. I'm a big fan of Nikki Haley. I like Ron DeSantis.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. I wish there was a candidate that was kind of in the middle ground that like, even like, who do the Democrats have? Joe Biden can't be president again.
Mm-hmm.
He's ruined this country. Like he's ruined this country. It's awful. And like, I don't want to sit here and break down, the leader of the country and like the president and all that. Again, I would vote Democrat again. I'm not sitting here saying I'm the hardcore conservative Republican, this and that. I'm a big candidate driven person.
Yeah. And
policy too. But I need to see something like, who do they got? Show me. What do you got? Gavin Newsom? That's not working for me. Who do you got? Show me. So like, that's what I need. The one person that I said right now would win the election in a landslide. There's one Democrat right now that would beat out every Republican and it wouldn't even be a question. One. If that person said I'm running. Only one. Do you know who that is? Michelle Obama. If Michelle Obama said today I'm running for president, it would be over with. She would win in a landslide. In a landslide.
She is a fan favorite. Do you think that would be something that America can actually get behind, though?
I don't know. I personally think this. The fact that she's an African woman actually is in her favor big time.
Yeah.
And the Obama name itself too. I think she's the only person that can win the Democratic nominee and actually beat out a Republican in the presidential elections. Personally, I think Michelle Obama is the only person to do it if she decides to pull the trigger and do it. I don't think she's going to.
Yeah.
She said numerous times she doesn't want to run. But she's a great speaker. She's a great debater. And she's a tough cookie. I would feel comfortable. I wouldn't vote for Michelle Obama, but I would feel comfortable with her as my president.
Mm-hmm.
I can go to sleep at night knowing she's a tough cookie and she ain't taking shit.
Yeah.
And she can actually speak up. With Joe Biden, on the other hand, I'm not sleeping comfortably at night at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to think, if you're a world leader in a different country and you're looking at him and how he runs this country, you got to almost laugh. Yeah. We're laughing at him as people here.
Yeah.
Imagine what the world leaders are. The people that live here are laughing at him. So imagine what people are thinking on a world stage. And I didn't want to get this into like a whole podcast, but man, it's just something that I'm passionate about. And I only want the best for this country and the people that live here. And I don't want people to feel divided. And like I hate that's where we're at.
No, you're on the same page with a lot of people, but you are right. We probably shouldn't go too deep into politics.
Because
you never know.
This episode might get taken off.
Who knows? If it gets taken off, it means people are listening. So let's talk on the topic of politics. Let's talk Billy McFarland.
Cool.
Let's talk Firefest.
Let's do it.
That was, to me, the most insane documentary. I remember watching that a few years back and thinking, like, great businessman. Cheated a lot of people out of a lot of things. But when you interviewed him, he seems like a really down-to-earth dude now and kind of has accepted his mistakes for what they were.
Great interview. We talked for almost an hour. I flew out to New York to interview him. And I still text him here and there.
Yeah.
I really liked him. I thought he was a very smart person, very well spoken. He's been through a lot. I mean, that guy has really been through a lot. And I don't think his plan wasn't to like rip people off and scam people in the beginning. That wasn't his goal. He just got so far over his head.
Yeah.
And I think like thought that he really could make this happen. And it just didn't work out that way. And listen, I'm an advocate of somebody that paid their price. This dude sat in prison for 5 years. He sat in solitary for over a year. I mean, the guy's paid his price And as far as like time is concerned, now he just owes $26 million.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked him that, like, how do you deal with that? Like, bro, I owe like 50 grand in debt and that's stressing me out. Like, you owe 26 million. You would die to be in my situation. How do you deal with owing $26 million? And he's like, bro, like, you just got to wake up every day and know, like, you know, you just got to make as much as you can that day and move forward. And they can't take all of his money. But at the same point, like, he can't be ever drive around with a Mercedes or wear a Rolex.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So he has to live a very, he'll never be able to live a luxurious life until his debts are paid to society, to who he owes money to.
So what's he doing work-wise?
So he's opened up this starter thing again another starter called Pirate, which is, he actually wants to do something in the Bahamas again, where he actually has like people come to an island and like you can actually purchase experiences for that guest on the island while they're there, and they can utilize that at that moment. So like if they're surfing on the beach, like they might be able to do something cool, or like you could buy a drink for somebody that comes right to them, like when you're actually like far away. So that was kind of cool. I think that's what he's on now. He's been kind of quiet recently on social media. He's actually never watched the documentary. I did see that he was trying to do something where he's trying to have a watching party where he actually watches the documentary. But super cool guy. And I know a lot of people might not like him. I didn't have that experience with him though. I thought he was super professional with me, came on time. So I don't know.
He's just a guy who had an extreme vision for what he wanted to do, but just didn't listen to the people around him. Because the people around him knew pretty quickly, like, we're not going to be able to get this done. He was just blinded to it.
I think the thing that really fucked him the worst was the storm. That night, like that, when the storm came in and all the tents were set up and everything with the beds were set up, like I think if that storm didn't happen, I think he still would have been fucked, but like people would have had housing and lodging and beds, and like it would have been like, when that storm came, it ruined everything because like all the tents were all ruined. All the beds were all wet. And I told him, I'm like, bro, what you should have done. And he agreed. He's like, you should have had 2 cruise ships. Simple. Pull up. Fuck the lodging. Fuck the tents on the beach. 2 cruise ships. Boom. Here's the cruise ship. Here's your cruise ship. At nighttime, you go sleep in your cruise ship. And you get it in the morning, you go off and you're at the island again. And that would have been the smartest way to do it.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't work out that way. And I think he's like banned from the Bahamas still. But he'll try to get back. He's been very, apologetic to them and trying to get back to the Bahamas. Billy was a great interview. You should try to talk to him because I think you guys would have a great interview.
I mean, we talk about building not only relationships, building our reputations, right? It takes 30 years to build a reputation, takes 3 seconds to ruin your reputation, right? So I feel like when he's going back at it and doing events to try to obviously make up for that 26 million or whatever it is, it's tough to get people's trust again.
It is, but also like at the same standpoint, like people are going to say, yo, this guy truly is a genius in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And he does know how to market. And is he really going to do it again? Like knowing how hot he was. The biggest thing that had me messed up with Billy was when he got arrested for the Fire Festival, he got out like right away. And right after that, he was starting a new scam while he was on like federal bail.
Yeah.
Like, and with no fear. And like, to me, that like had me messed up the most. Like, bro, the FBI just rolled you. You just got out of jail. You're on federal bond.
Yeah.
You got to think, first of all, the FBI is watching you somewhat. Like, they got to be watching you a little bit, tapping your phone, or like, they got to be like, he didn't give a fuck. And he started a new scam. Like, he was selling fake tickets to the Met Gala like a week later.
Yep.
And that is where like messed me up the most.
You can't get tickets to the Met Gala.
With Billy, Billy had them, supposedly. So, he just, and that's what screwed him the most, actually.
Yeah.
That's where they really hit him. The judge hit him the hardest on that because his sentence became a lot longer because of that.
I couldn't imagine doing that, especially like building up years of credibility to finally be met with, oh, you ain't shit. You just robbed us of thousands upon thousands of dollars. That ultimately ends up at $26 million. And to not have that fear too, like you said, to continue knowing what you're doing, like, premeditated that you're going to be scamming these people in order to make some money back. Peter talks about it all the time with his story. He's like, I literally didn't give a fuck, like, if I went to jail for the rest of my life. I was that, like, into what he was doing for whatever reason. His brain was triggered that way. Like, why do you think some people are like that, where it's like, I have nothing to lose, I'm going to continue to do this anyway?
I think with him, he was just so deep into what he was trying to do. And like, he it was a timing thing now. He had already sold a bunch of tickets. He had investors that he had to take care of this person and that person. He had a daily expense sheet where like he needed to pay a couple $100,000 every day for this thing or that thing or that thing. And he had investors that he was already working with for years that he made a lot of money for. So they trusted him. And what he started doing is lying on financial statements. And that's what really screwed him. So he was making up false statements to get money to show his investors. And like that was all false. And that's where he really screwed people.
Yeah.
Screwed his investors more than anybody. Like that's who got screwed the most. For me, he seemed very, sympathetic. He was very, he wanted to do well again. He wanted to pay back his money as best as he could. I actually don't think he'll be back to scamming people again or to doing whatever he was, being untrustworthy. The vibe I got, but I think he's just happy to be out. You do 5 years and you do a lot of time in solitary and, yeah.
That's a long time too. That's a lot of time to
25 to 30, he was locked up.
Yeah. That's, dude, to lose 5 years, I feel like you're trying to right all those wrongs. How do you think, to kind of circle back to like us being podcasters, and there's a ton of other podcasters out there, right? Trying to build their brands, quote unquote, build their platforms. From a monetary standpoint, we were talking before we came on when we came in, whether it's YouTube, whether it's partnerships, sponsorships that you're doing, people have Patreons, people have all this other stuff going on. What's your biggest piece of advice for people getting into this who are serious about building their brands and have over the past few years that don't quite know how to monetize and build those relationships?
So I think the first thing that we're doing in podcasting, the most important thing about podcasting is to be consistent.
Yeah.
So number one, you have to be consistent. You have to keep dropping because you got to be in people's faces. That's the first thing. Marketing and being consistent with your interviews. So I would say those are the first two things, and build your brand and know your niche. Like know exactly what you're trying to attack. With me, I know I'm trying to attack artists and musicians and have them come on my show and perform and network and producers and da-da-da-da. Anybody in the music industry, I want to talk to you. And then I'm trying to, like Billy's and other cool interviews, I want to take those too. But really know your niche. Be consistent with it. Market yourself the correct way. Find a cool sponsor, partner with them, and go at it. You'll be bigger every year that you do this. When I started off, I was begging for interviews, begging for big interviews, and being left on red a lot. And
what do you define as begging? Like what were some of those messages that you were sending to people?
Like just being left on red, like just DMing people, or like just getting big timed a lot, or maybe, or like just no commitment. There was no real commitment. You know what I'm saying? It was like always around the bush, and it still is. I still deal with that a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot. You just got to take advantage of the people that are genuine within this industry. And there's a lot of people that aren't. This is a very non-genuine, fake industry by far. At least the music industry, I'm saying is
100%.
Is very fake and very not genuine and all about what are you doing for me that exact moment. And you're nobody after that. Like literally you got to understand that. So like, that's the hardest part about this industry, I think, is to know like who you can trust in the music industry and know who you can't. And know who's trying to like use you or get something from you or whatever. Somebody might be your friend for a month, and then finally that comes out of what they really want from you. And like that, that's happened to me a lot. So now I just kind of like do my thing, and I'm with, as far as my show's concerned, I stay consistent. Even though like in 21 I wasn't is where I should have been, but like I was still consistent no matter what. Like so, I'd say any podcaster out there, stay consistent and know your niche. Very important.
I couldn't agree more. It's not going to happen in the first 10 episodes. Like, I think the pod fade thing is that the average podcast lasts 7 episodes. At the 7 episode mark, people are like, "Oh, this isn't for me. It's not worth my investment because I'm not making the money. We're not getting the views." It's like, no shit. You've never done it before. There's 2 million podcasts out there.
So, I think with me, Jack, that it's kept me along a lot farther than a lot of people, because I put this out there, is I'm getting paid for a majority of my interviews, meaning when you come on the Matty Ice show, you get a promo flyer, you get a performance. I have an audio engineer in there. You're getting a performance video. You're getting my promo where I'm promoting your freestyle on my page in front of all the other artists. You're networking with my artists now. You're meeting me. There's different things that are happening. So like with me, I've utilized my show differently where I'm interviewing, but I'm also bringing a lot more to the table besides just the interview itself. And that's my realm of what I'm doing. And it's kind of made me a little bit stagnant in some other ways. Well, I'm not monetizing on YouTube. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Like I'm getting my bag here, but I should be getting it everywhere. And but I'm fortunate. I'm very fortunate and blessed for these artists to want to pay me. And trust me, I've had artists that have gotten record deals off my page. I've had T.I. find Samara Sin off my page. Samara Sin had one of the best freestyles ever. And a couple years ago on my show, and she got noticed by like everybody. Chance the Rapper, T.I. Like a lot of people were in her DMs afterwards. So like, yo, Ethic Music signed some artists off my page. So like, there is movement. And I think that's that's one of the coolest things is like when an artist comes on the show and then they get recognized, or like they maybe link up with another artist because of it. So I think I think my show has so much value for an artist. If I was an artist, I would do it in a second, personally. Especially if you think you're that, if you're that good and you got some shit, bro, let's go. Like, what if Ross sees it and loves it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you never know. What if that person sees it and like thinks you're a vibe? Like, you never know who's going to see it that day.
How do you know who's serious and who's not? I mean, obviously social media plays a big factor when it comes to following or just the content that they're putting out there. But I'm sure you've had guests come in and you're like, they weren't what they said they were.
What's crazy is those are the ones that are paying me the most money. The ones that pay the most money are really just there for the picture of them all. They don't even know their lines sometimes, bro. Like, and you know, I hate to say that. And I'm not even posting a majority of I get this a lot too. So how come you didn't post my freestyle or my performance? And then I'll sit back and say, do you have a manager? No. Or sometimes they do. I'll say, show your manager that video again. And then ask your manager if you want me to post that. And then I'll say, was that your best performance? Did you give me a ton of energy? Do you think you could have done a way better job? And their answer is yes. I say, why do you want me to post this then? When I post this, that's what people are going to judge you on.
Yeah.
Why am I posting this if you think you didn't do a good job? It doesn't even make sense to me sometimes.
Yeah.
And then they sit back and say, dude, you're right. And it's just like mind-blowing to me. If you're going to come on a platform, know your fucking lines and come prepared, especially if you're paying for it. Like, come and go crazy. Like, this is your mic now. You paid for your time. Why aren't you going crazy? Why aren't you like really energetic? Why don't you know your lines? So like for me, like I think that is, if you're going to come on a platform like this, know know what you're doing. Make sure you're getting your best, make sure you're bringing your best performance. You know, and like that's, I think, the most important thing when you're utilizing my platform, because a lot of artists don't do that.
That's so backwards too, because if you're paying a shitload of money to come on, you're looking to make the most out of that. You're not,
because a lot of times people are paying, and they a lot of times they're it's a facade. So with what I'm doing, you know, you got to think about it. Then people say, "Well, Matty, will you just interview everybody?" No, but this isn't my business, and will I interview everybody? If you approach me the really right way and you want to sit down with me, sure. This is my business. I'll sit down with you. Will I promote you? Will I promote your interview and go crazy for you? No. If I don't think that I want to get behind it, I'm not going to get behind it on that angle. But if you want to interview with me, we can do that. Doesn't mean I'm going to like introduce you to my whole world either. You know what I mean? So like, it just depends. If you're a good artist, I want to. You know what I'm saying? If you come and you really deliver, I want to, right? But it doesn't mean like just because you say, oh, I want to come on the show, like you got to have some talent behind you. You got to take your craft seriously. Yeah. That's the problem with this music industry nowadays is people think they can come in and sip some lean and bring their gun to the studio and think they're a rapper nowadays. It doesn't work like that. You got to have talent. I want to get back to like the Nas, the Jay-Z days. Like people like whatever happened to like, I always say this a lot now, like whatever happened to putting out a quality song? Like, why is it like, oh, I got a feature from that person? No, bro, you sent them your verse and the track, and they were in their studio. You never met each other. You never know. You know nothing about each other. And he rapped a few lines and sent you the track back, and now it's a banger. Stop. You know what I'm saying? Like a banger is when two artists are with a producer in a studio and they're there all day long for a week together, and they're putting together a song and they're picking off each other's brain, and that producer's doing that, and this artist is doing that, and that artist is doing that, and they bring in that songwriter, and that person's coming in, and that's how you make a banger. It's not like, oh, let me send an open verse to that artist, and now we have a single. And that's what these artists think nowadays. It don't work like that.
You're actually building chemistry with someone when you're cooking in the lab for like 10 hours at a time.
Yes, you're putting together a great song.
Let's tweak this. Let's take this and bring it over here. Like, oh, we don't need that. We can do something better here, you know? There's so many artists out there today, at least in the hip hop space. They're like, oh, dude, listen to my song. It's great. And I listen to it. And I'm like, it's good, but it's like everybody else.
The beat might be cool. It's more the producer.
Yeah.
So I think we need to get back to like putting out quality music. And back in the day, we got that. Like, even Drake's my favorite artist. I thought Certified Lover Boy was an absolutely awful album. Like, awful.
Mm-hmm.
And Drake's my favorite artist to this day still. But I'll use that as an example. Like, that kind of disturbed me a little bit with Drake.
He owns his own stuff too, right?
That was his first project too that he put out.
Oh wow.
That was his own under OVO. Now he does. But I thought 21 Savage and Drake put out a really good project. I think we're just so spoiled by like the Take Care days and like that Drake. Are you a Drake fan?
I am.
Okay. So what I want Drake to do is I want Drake to his next project. I want him to do Take Care 2.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to have Marvin's Room 2 on the album, and I want him to market it kind of like Take Care, but as the real sequel to it, and get back to that bag. Get back to your Take Care bag. That's the Drake that I want, and I think that he is going to get back to that. Mm-hmm. I do think Drake is going to get back to the Take Care days, and I think that a project we're going to see from Drake is going to be Take Care 2, and if I'm predicting it, I think it's going to happen within the next 2 years. Take Care 2 by Drake. I'm going to say it right now.
I mean, you really have a strong vision for this stuff. Have you ever, because obviously it's a passion of yours, but would you ever get into like the marketing side and the promotion side of working like not necessarily as someone's agent, but like
again,
something in that?
In the music industry, I always wanted to be a manager. Now I don't know how much I really want to do that. There's a lot of politics that come into this, and just being around guys like Jeter, who's been in this for a long time, there's a lot that comes into this. I don't know. I don't know. I always wanted to be a manager, but I think now it's just like I'm in the podcasting realm. I think that's where I'm at, and I like what I'm doing. So it may be a little bit of an intuition, but like, I'm sitting here as a diehard Drake fan, like thinking if I saw a billboard for Take Care 2 and like Marvin's Room was on there, and then you got another track with Ross, and you got a couple little follow-ups, that is going to go crazy. And I am predicting it again. I'm saying it right here on the Jack O'Hara show. Take Care 2 is coming within 2 years by Drake. And if it does happen, we're clipping that.
We'll clip it now, and then in 2 years, we'll just clip it again.
Perfect. Yes, that's perfect. And maybe Drake will see this and confirm it.
2 years from now, you would have already interviewed him by this time. You're the #1 hip-hop show in the world.
Boom, we'll take it.
I mean, seriously, I watch your show on a weekly basis. Like, you know what you're doing. You love what you do. You could hear it in the bass of your voice. You don't get that with a lot of people. So that's why, obviously, I'm loved getting to connect here with you today. Hopefully, we get to do it again in Phoenix more often.
Most definitely.
Because I feel like I have a ton more I'd love to like pick your brain about. I always hate that saying, but more that we can talk about given that we're in the same space, before you probably move somewhere else. Cause it sounds like you're going to be on the up and up, man.
We're in the same realm, Phoenix, Vegas, we're in the same exact realm. And I think, the best follow the best and the best lead with the best. And I think, that's why we're here together. And, I've said this numerous times. I think you're like pretty much the best interviewer I've seen. I mean, I think you're super fucking talented. Now you're here with the win, doing your own thing. So, to see you grow is huge. You're a hell of a lot younger than me. So bro, the sky's the limit truly for you. Like, bro, like for you, fuck, the sky's the limit. Like 23 years old, all the skill sets you have, like, bro, I would do 5 years I would do 2 years in jail straight to get right back to where you are right now. Sincerely. So just think about that. 23 years old, I'm 35. You got 12 years ahead of me right now. Even though I'm 12 years older, you're 12 years ahead of me. So you got 12 years ahead of me, bro. And like, that is amazing. Like those 12 years, if I can have those 12 years, 23 to 35.
Yeah. It's about keeping that passion, man. People say it all the time, like content creator burnout is like a 2 to 3 year period, You experienced it a little bit last year. I've experienced it on and off multiple times. Like you got to pace yourself, right?
But you're so ahead of the game, bro. Like I started at 32. You started at, way 23 is where you are now. You probably started at 18, 17, whatever. So you're so ahead of the game. And I think that's just, I know when you're 30, I'll be seeing you on TV. It's a fact.
Hey, more spray tans like this, right? Oh my God. I'm like orange right now. You just at the Blue Wire studio. I'm like, oh my God. It's
you got the slick back hair too.
I look like a Simpson character right now, I know everything. I used to have a buzz cut. I used to be cool. I used to be off the cuff, but it is what it is. But we're going to connect way more moving forward. I'm going to be in contact. I'm going to probably be annoying.
It's all good. Man.
But this was episode 616 of the podcast, guys. Remember to check it out. Use that promo code capital OSHOW20 for $20 off your next order at tickpick.com. Matty Ice, thanks so much, man.
Let's go. Fire.